Hello and welcome to Square Raindrop. I'm Jo Wheeler.
And I'm Steph Golter, and we've got a lot to pack in today. We're going to the Mediterranean, we're going to Asia, and then we're coming back to look at what we've got in store in our weather.
Always the jewel in the crown. But before we get into all of that, how's your week been, Steph? How's your week been?
So far, and it is only Monday, the week's not been too bad, but I'm already hyperventilating about Wednesday.
About Wednesday? What's happening on Wednesday?
Wednesday, I am on a school trip, not of my own, but of children who are all year one children. So around the age of 6, there will be 60 of them, and we're going to a castle.
I need to lie down now as well. You're going to a castle? Why?
Yes, they've been learning about castles and things. I don't know, damsels in distress or something. I don't know what they've been teaching them. Certainly my daughter doesn't tell me. But anyway, we're going to a castle, and I figured that at least if it all goes wrong, I can just lock them in the dungeons and be gone.
Good thinking. Slight flaw in that plan, as far as I can see. They could throw you in the dungeon and throw away the key. And being year one pupils, they will have no qualms about doing that.
It'll be like Gulliver's Travels. Help me!
Well, I wish you all the luck with that. And I plan to stay in bed on Wednesday then and peel grapes and sit there going, at least I'm not in a castle with 60 year one children. You know, in life really can't get any better.
Just keep the phone by your bed, Jo.
I expect updates right the way through. Well, at least if the castle's in the UK rather than Transylvania, the castle itself won't be posing any problems. The weather shouldn't pose any problems. The children, now that's a different matter. But meanwhile, listen, I've got a friend who's on holiday at the moment in Menorca. And got there very disappointed because whenever anybody goes on holiday, they always say, what's the weather going to be like? And you go, right, I'll have a look for you, personalised forecast. And I had a look and it was one of those where you go, do you really want to know? Why don't you just enjoy being away? Rainy, temperatures around 15. Okay, when the sun comes out, probably 20 degrees. But I looked and I thought, so much rain, what is going on? I mean, you obviously have lived abroad. I've lived abroad in Portugal, so I'm fairly familiar with what happens in Iberia. And I'm thinking at this time of year, pretty much it's wall-to-wall sunshine, wall-to-wall blue skies. The heat comes on. It's literally like somebody throws a switch and suddenly all is bright and beautiful. Not so at the moment. There's actually a big storm. It's been named by the Italian Met Office as Storm Minerva. And it's, well, technically now it's moved away from Iberia. But northern parts of Africa look like having some thunderstorms. Italy's going to see some pretty horrendous weather. I mean, 100, 200 millimeters of rainfall. The Balkan coast is seeing that rainfall, strong winds through the Aegean. I mean, it's really not what you expect in May, to be perfectly honest.
No, and you do end up in that dilemma as people ask you what the weather's going to be like. Do you just tell them? Do you just lie? I do remember I worked with one forecaster and he went, just lie. Tell them what they want to hear. Otherwise, you've ruined their holiday before they've even gone on it. But I decided to take that little bit too far. So my brother bought a house in the Caribbean, St. Martin, and he said, there's a great big Category 5 hurricane coming towards us, Steph. Do you think it's going to hit us? Nah, you'll be fine, said Steph. How is he going to prepare? He wasn't even on the island anyway.
Does your brother still have a house in the Caribbean?
Well, it went from being second row back from the beach with trees behind to being front row of the beach and with a mountain view.
Listen, location. It's everything when it comes to property. It did him a favour.
Sort of. Pleasure and pain.
Precisely. Well, if Storm Minerva is causing some problems for southern Europe, a little further around the globe, we've got, is it a cyclone?
Mocha is the name of it, and it's caused a lot of damage. So it slammed into Myanmar, but I believe you don't call it Myanmar.
Myanmar.
I worked for Al Jazeera for over 10 years, and we were told we had to call it Myanmar, despite the fact when I arrived there from the UK, I called it Myanmar. So now I'm totally confused. Anyway.
Myanmar sounds like a trip out with your mother.
Myanmar. Yeah, off we go. Anyway, you wouldn't have wanted to go this week. Winds of 155 miles an hour. It was a borderline Category 5 hurricane. That's what it would have been called if it was in the waters around the US. But over there,
Wow.
they have a different way of classing them. But that's how strong it was. Was the strongest storm they've seen for over 10 years. So a massive beast slammed into the coast. And of course, all around there, it's really, really low lying. And the houses are really rustic. So it's caused an awful lot of damage. Loads of trees down, power lines, massive storm surge of around 3.5 meters. Really bad. So
Oh my God, it sounds absolutely horrendous. And now that it's made landfall, is it starting to weaken?
Yes, like all these storms, they get their energy from the warm waters of the ocean. So as soon as it's over land, it starts to lose its strength. But the thing it kind of loses first is the wind speed, and it was the wind really that was holding up all the rain. So then the rain hammers down, and that causes flooding as well. But that it is now dissipating, so things in that region will begin to improve. We'll be able to pick up the pieces now.
Whenever we have a storm, whether it's, in whatever part of the world it is, there's a very good chance that people like us are tracking it, in fact, quite fastidiously tracking it. So did they actually know what to expect?
Yeah, the forecast was there. The forecast was well in front of the actual impact of the storm. So they did have chance to make some preparations. But as I say, it's such a rustic area of the world that there will be some people who maybe missed the warnings or were in a shelter that just wasn't up to the cyclone.
So just a few minutes ago when we were talking about Minerva, the storm which is over southern parts of Europe, this is kind of linked into our weather at the moment, because, as I say, when I lived abroad, we knew when the good weather was coming, when the Azores High built. And that Azores High has built, but it's slightly to the northwest of the Azores. And this is why it's ridging over us. And so whilst our weather has settled down because of this ridge of high pressure, it's also bringing in a kind of a northerly flow. And that northerly flow is quite cool. So we've seen temperatures drop several degrees as we start the week, but we've seen the skies brighten up, which is, really very nice. And as we go through the week, things are looking quite settled. But this ridge of high pressure kind of comes and goes. I think you can demonstrate.
It's flows, Joe, a bit like this, like you're stroking a cat or a cat's reaching for a fish.
Yes, like, have some nice weather. No, I'm taking it away.
Oh,
Have some nice weather. No, it's coming back again now. And that the Azores High almost looks like it's going to continue to have that kind of influence on Britain and Ireland right the way through until the end of the month, and possibly even beyond. Meanwhile, obviously, when you've got a big piece of high pressure like that, the nasties have got to go somewhere, and it does look like an awful lot of them are going to keep tracking to the south, which is going to put them straight through southern Europe again.
So your relative that you have in the Mediterranean, are they staying there to try and eventually get that fine weather, because they might be there a while, Joe?
Luckily it's a fairly short break, otherwise it'd be a very, very wet one. So no, but as we said earlier, if you're going on holiday, you're going on holiday for a reason. It's to relax and catch some sleep and enjoy the outdoor lifestyle, even if you're under a bit of a canopy, which might be necessary at times. It's warm rain. That's what my mother would have said. It's warm rain. Why should you worry?
And people say to me quite regularly, there's no such thing as bad weather, it's bad clothing. I'm sure I together agree as a tree falls into your house, but there we go.
I spent my entire childhood summer holidays dressed in shorts and a cagoule and a pair of plastic sandals. This obviously was North Wales.
Shoes! Jelly shoes!
Yes, that's right. Jelly shoes. My mother perpetually looking up at the skies going, oh, I'm sure it's getting brighter over there. And take it, she never watched a weather forecast in her life, because when it rains in Wales, it rains in Wales. In fact, did you know, because you probably read the book to your children, Winnie the Pooh, and you get to that bit where it goes, and it rained and it rained and it rained and it rained and it rained. Well, it was actually written in Wales, which doesn't surprise me one iota, on a headland when it did just that. It rained and it rained and it rained and it rained and it rained. But yeah, so at least accurate, if nothing else.
Joe? Every day's a school day.
Every day's a school day. Listen, Steffi, we're going to have to cut it short tonight, because I've got some liver cake that's about to come out of the oven.
I don't know what to say to that, Joe. Oh, look at the time. I must go.
Oh, I can hear the kitchen timer going, and it's ready. The dogs will be most upset if their liver cake is overdone.
I think I might be sick.
As always, If you want to ask us anything, the recipe for liver cake, what's the weather going to be like where you're going on holiday, or indeed how to free yourself from a dungeon having been locked in by 60 year one children, you know where to find us. At
Square Raindrop, because Square Raindrop didn't fit.
It didn't, but we do have an email.
We do. It's weather@squareraindrop.com.
Well remembered. Until next time, see you.
Bye.